Technical foul. Yeah.
Hey guys, how you doing? Welcome to another episode of Teed Up. I'm David.
I'm Justin.
As always, we appreciate you tuning in. I hope everyone's doing well. Still a lot to talk about with the league. We're getting closer and closer by the episode to a return of NBA basketball. I can't wait. I honestly can't wait to cover it when it comes back. Seriously, I'm so excited for a return. Justin, I know you are too.
Oh yeah, only a couple more weeks? 3 weeks, I believe it is, till training camp starts. So
3 weeks.
close.
Yep. So basically, what I did was I signed up as a Disney World security guard, so that I can get into the games. That's exactly what I did. So that's how. So I'm going to be covering them on the sideline. So yeah. So we did want to get into the return of the league, and we did want to also mention this whole thing with Dwight Howard and him not wanting to play, him joining Kyrie, him siding with Kyrie. But before we get into that, we did want to tell you about our Patreon page. Help support the show on Patreon. We'll put the link in the description for that. The membership started at $3 a month, and with that, you get laptop decals, T-shirts, a whole bunch of good stuff. So definitely go check out the page. Help support the show. But we did want to get into Dwight Howard. So Dwight Howard is pretty much on the same page as Kyrie. We're not really going to get into more of our opinion on if him playing, but we did want to get into how this would affect the Lakers. So, Justin, I'm wondering, how do you think that Dwight Howard not playing is going to affect the Lakers?
It will have a pretty big effect, in my opinion, because that's one of the things the Lakers use to their advantage is their height. They have JaVale McGee, Dwight Howard, Anthony Davis. They really use those big guys. I mean, in the playoffs, you don't need as much rest, though, so I don't know if it would be that big of an impact, but I mean, certainly losing a player like that would obviously make your team worse. Now, if they go out and sign DeMarcus Cousins, that's a whole nother story here. And then that'd be a good replacement. I mean, we'll see. I mean, I think Avery Bradley said he wasn't going to play either. I believe he said he wasn't playing, so that could hurt them as well.
Mm-hmm. Now, honestly, I think this really, really hurts the Lakers because their only center that they have is JaVale McGee. And Dwight.
AD can play center.
AD can play center, but it's going to be hard because but they need a true center, and AD plays, does better at the 4, in my opinion. Dwight Howard,
if you put Kyle Kuzma in there at the 4 and then moved AD to center, you at least have an option already. You don't have to go out and get one necessarily.
You're right.
You got a guy like DeMarcus Cousins sitting out there. He's going to be healthy. You can always bring him back.
But still, the impact that Dwight Howard has, he plays 19 minutes a game, averages 7.5 points, 7 boards. So he does have an impact on that Lakers team. Taking that 7.5 points off the board, that might sound like a lot. Like that might not sound like a lot. I mean, but that does go a long way when you're down by 7. You know what I mean? So I think.
And he has experience. He has playoff experience, which always helps because the Lakers do have some young guys there, like a Kuzma and other guys. So the playoff, they certainly have a guy like LeBron, who's the king of playoff experiences, but you got guys like AD, who's never really gone far in the playoffs. Kuzma's young. You got some other guys here that aren't necessarily as experienced as LeBron. So Dwight Howard was certainly a loss in the locker room as well.
Right. And, especially I feel like Dwight Howard would have had a much better drive this year because this is probably his biggest opportunity or his best opportunity to get a ring in 11 years. This is probably his biggest opportunity to get a ring. Yeah. So since 2009. So I think, he would have went off in the playoffs, in my opinion.
I don't think it would have went off, but I think he would have put up.
Not went off as in like a turn
points,
back the clock, but
8 rebounds.
Yeah, like a double-double.
He would have been a valuable asset off the bench, yes.
I would say like 10 points, 9 boards, something like that. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he'd be able to contribute for sure. I mean, a guy like him is a loss in the locker room as well. Like I said, that definitely has an effect on the locker room when you're losing an experienced veteran. I mean, it's another thing. Does he travel with them there and he's just not playing, or is he not traveling at all? I mean, I would think if he's not playing, he wouldn't even travel, and then he'd probably be like protesting and stuff. That's what I would think he's doing instead.
Right.
But we don't really know that yet, so it'll be tough to tell. So if he doesn't go, I think it's a bigger loss in the locker room than it actually is on the court.
No, I would agree with that. Yeah, having that presence in the locker room definitely helps, but also, I think I honestly think it will have a big impact on the court, especially if DeMarcus Cousins doesn't come back, and if your only center is JaVale McGee.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
So,
that's
be
for
interesting
sure.
to see. Let us know what you think about that in the comments. Let us know what you think about that. DM us on Instagram and Twitter. We did want to get into with that. You know, so the Lakers are probably, in my opinion, I think the Lakers are the front runner for the to win the chip. Many might say the Clippers. Justin might say the Clippers, but I disagree because that's just ridiculous. LeBron James will go off, and so I don't know. But who do you think, in your mind, Justin? Who do you think needs this ring this year the most?
There's a couple guys here. I mean, you mentioned Dwight Howard earlier. He's one of those guys that needs a ring still. Anthony Davis is one that comes to mind for me because he has not really done anything. He's a great player. He's been in the top 10 player conversation for almost his whole career now, but he's never gone far in the playoffs. He's never gotten that championship yet. So that would be a big one there. Paul George is one that I really like. I think he needs a ring. Trying to think. You get a guy like the Rockets, James Harden, and Russell Westbrook, and other guys that are known for choking in the
It's not gonna happen.
playoffs. They need a ring.
It's not gonna
Both
happen.
them. I mean, you never know. You never know what's going to happen this season. So they could be guys that could get in a ring. There's a lot of guys that need a ring, which is why this season means a lot to a lot of players. And that's why I think a lot of players are going to be playing because they really do want that ring.
Mm-hmm. Especially. In my opinion, I think nobody needs this ring more than Giannis. And I'll tell you why. So a lot of times, we've said this multiple times on previous episodes, the top three players in the league are Kawhi, in no order, by the way, Kawhi, LeBron, and Giannis. And what separates –
No order, you would never say Kawhi is number one.
I would never say Kawhi. I would probably say LeBron, Kawhi, Giannis.
LeBron.
Giannis,
It's always LeBron.
The king.
It's always LeBron.
Fine wine.
LeBron
the
first.
King. Always LeBron first. Anyway, here's the thing. The top three players in the league, in no order, are Bron, Giannis, and Kawhi, which is probably my order. But anyway, what differentiates Giannis from LeBron and Kawhi is LeBron has 3 rings. Kawhi has 2 with 2 different teams. Giannis doesn't have any. And if you know, he's known for losing in the playoffs. He lost last year. He lost 2 years ago to Boston. So he needs a ring, I feel, because I feel like if he doesn't get this ring, he'll just be criticized about it. And he'll kind of become, what happened with LeBron in the early 2010s when he was on the Heat, where everyone would say, oh, LeBron can't win a ring. LeBron can't win a ring. LeBron can't win a ring. This is exactly what's going to happen to Giannis. People are just going to criticize him. And no matter what you're going to say about Giannis, everyone's just going to keep saying, oh, yeah, well, he doesn't have a ring. He needs to get a ring. So I think Giannis needs this more than anybody this year. And I think he's got to do it now.
Now? Why now? LeBron didn't win his till he was 27. Giannis is only 25 right now.
27 and 25.
Right now?
Yeah, but 27 and 25, that's still –
I don't think he needs it this year. I think in the next 2 years. I don't think he needs it necessarily now. I think he needs it soon, but not now. He needs it before he turns 30, in my opinion. He needs to get a ring. But I think it's still too early. He's still young in his career. He's not a guy that has been in the top 5 player conversation for his whole career. He's a guy that started out
– He's an MVP, though.
Very raw, and he's developing. He has been recently, but that doesn't mean his whole career he's been there. He's new to the top 3 players list. You haven't been putting him in the top 3 like LeBron the past 8 years. He's new to this list. He's developing his game still. He's not been a dominant all-star. He's just getting to this level. So it takes a couple tries for him to get far in the playoffs. He's not going to just do it the first time. That happens occasionally, but a lot of guys don't do that. That's not normal.
But still,
give him a little more time. Give him another 3 years for him to get that next ring. He doesn't need it this season right now. He's not that deep into his career yet, like a guy like Anthony Davis, who's longer in his career, Paul George, James Harden, Russell Westbrook, even a guy like Jimmy Butler. All these guys are a lot further in their careers. They don't have a ring yet. So I don't think Giannis is needs it right
But still, to be at
to
this
be
top level, you need
considered
a
the best
ring.
player
To
in
be a
basketball right
top
now.
3
He
player
needs
in
it.
the
But
league, you got to have a ring. You got to have a ring, or else
not when
people are just going to
you're only
criticize you.
25.
So LeBron won
Not
his
when
when
you're
he was
only
27.
25.
Giannis is 25. That's only 2 years. Like, come on, that's
He's
only
still
2
got 2
years.
more tries after he has 2 more tries after this to even be on the same level as arguably a top player, the GOAT, arguably the greatest player of all time, or top 2 player in most people's opinion at least. And I
But
think
another
everyone's
thing,
opinion, top 2 player.
well, here's another thing too. You know, he could get injured next season, and then he could never be the same. Now he's won an MVP.
True,
He's in the middle of his prime. He's got to win a ring, especially with the team built around
he
him.
doesn't
He's
need
got
to bring it
Middleton. He's
this year.
got
He has
Brook
5 more.
Lopez,
He
Bledsoe.
needs to win a ring before he's, I'd say, 30. Before he's 30, he needs to win a ring, but he does not need it right now. You got guys who are much longer into their careers and do not have a ring yet. So I think Giannis will be dominant for the next 5 years at least. He'll be at least at this level he's at now, and probably even better if he does develop a jump shot. So he doesn't need it right now. He will continually get better as he grows. I mean, he's still developing his game even now. So I would say he, by 28, 29, he should have a ring, especially the way his game has been progressing.
I think it's got to be
I
now.
think you have a jump shot in 2 years, and by the time once he gets a jump shot, he will certainly win a ring. But right now, he does not have the jump shot, and honestly, his contract's going to expire. If he doesn't win a ring this year, he can go sign a cheap deal with somebody like Miami, Golden State, if he wants to go there. All these teams have cap space. He can go just ring chase there then if he really wants to. Like Kevin Durant.
He said he was going to be a Buck for life.
Ring. Kyrie said the same thing.
I know it was more of a joke, but I'm just saying.
You don't know what's going to happen, so I don't think he needs it right now. Give him 5 years. If he doesn't have a ring by then he's one of those players. There are players that are further into their careers so far and do not have a ring yet.
But here's the thing, though: if he wins it right now with the Bucks, with him being the key guy, rather than going to Golden State and teaming up with, Steph Curry and Klay Thompson and Draymond, or teaming up with Jimmy Butler down in South Beach. If he wins
if he goes to South Beach, he's still the best player on that team.
Yeah, I know.
And but he's probably the best player on the Golden State Warriors.
But if he wins it on it, let me finish. If he wins it on his own, with no other All-Stars, that would be tremendous for his career. That would be tremendous for his track record. You saw that what happened with KD. What about what happened with KD? Nobody thinks KD's rings count. Nobody thinks KD's ring
everyone
counts.
does. Only haters.
Nobody does.
They don't count.
A lot of people don't think his ring counts.
Every ring counts. If you win it, you did good enough to win it. You deserve it. You won the ring. Now, we both know this. Giannis will not win this year anyway because he's not beating the Clippers or Lakers.
How do you know? You don't know with this crazy playoff setup with people that aren't want to play.
Whoever makes it out of the East will not beat the Clippers or Lakers if they're playing them. I mean, we've seen it before. LeBron has already taken down the Bucks. The Clippers have too. I don't think they could. I don't even think he's. I mean, obviously, none of the players. I mean, the Rockets wouldn't win it, and I listed them. But I think Anthony Davis or Paul George will get their ring this year. Mm-hmm. One of them, and they both need it for their career's sake because their legacies are hurting without it.
Right. No, I would say the same thing. And I would honestly say the same thing about Jimmy Butler. Jimmy Butler came out and said last year that he was going to retire 35. And Jimmy Butler's what, 31 now?
Yeah.
So he's only got 4 more years to win a ring. And if he doesn't win that ring, people are just going to forget about Jimmy Butler, 5-10 years from now. People are just going to be out.
That's why I think him and Giannis could team up. If Giannis can't win a ring, I think I could really see him and Giannis teaming up in South Beach. I could see that.
I would like that to happen, but I don't think that's going to happen because of Jimmy Butler's ego. I just don't think it's going to happen.
Giannis still has a year left after this, so Jimmy Butler would probably be like 33. And even if Giannis could sign a 1-year deal there and just have a first season to try and win. They don't need a big deal, or he could sign like a 3-year deal with an opt-out after one. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. But I think if they both really won a ring at that point in their careers, then yes.
I don't know. We want to know what your guys' thoughts are. Who needs this ring the most? Let us know. Definitely, it's going to be interesting. And the thing is, I wouldn't count Milwaukee out just because of this weird playoff setup. Some people might not want to play on the Lakers. Some people might come out and say, I don't want to play. Some people might say that for the Clippers. Some people might say that on the Bucks even. So I wouldn't count Milwaukee out just yet, and I wouldn't just say, oh, well, they're going to just get demolished by the Lakers, because it's such a weird playoff setup. So I think I wouldn't count Milwaukee out. I'm not saying that they're my lock, that they're my pick to win this year, but I would say they definitely are a contender, and they definitely have a pretty decent shot.
I agree.
So let us know what you think down below. We want to know what your guys' thoughts are. The next thing that we're going to get into is we're going to throw it back a little. Throw it back to some of our favorite players. So two of my favorite players that I love to watch was obviously AI, being a huge Sixers fan. Justin, I know that's the same for you. D Wade was also on that up top there. I loved watching D Wade. I think arguably my favorite play ever was that D Wade dunk over Anderson Varejao like 10 years ago. That's one of the greatest plays.
I figured you were going to say that alley. I figured you were going to say the D Wade to LeBron alley-oop that's famous. Yeah.
Yeah, where he's just looking back.
You're such a Bron fan.
Yeah, but here's the thing. You got to admit,
it wasn't that nice of a play.
But that's the most badass picture ever.
Yeah. It was a good picture.
Oh my God,
that cool of a play.
I don't care.
If you were just at the game watching it, it wasn't that nice of a play, but the picture is just awesome.
And then did you see Luka and Kristaps tried to redo it?
Mm-hmm.
It's like Walmart brand. It's like Walmart brand Bron and Wade.
Yeah.
So would you say AI is your favorite player ever? Is he up there?
I wouldn't say that. He's up there. I mean, I don't really have a favorite player. I like a lot of players. It would be tough for me to rank them, but he's definitely up there.
Right. So we were kind of talking off camera about this, and we were kind of going back to AI's career, because they've been playing a lot of his old games on the on TV. And I'm wondering, Justin, who had the better career, D Wade or AI?
Let me think. I would say I would have to give it to AI, but it's very close. I think AI was the more talented player. I think he did better in the regular season, but D Wade ended up doing more with his career. D Wade has the championships, has all that, but D Wade had better players than AI had. D Wade didn't play with LeBron James. D Wade didn't play with Shaq. I mean, AI didn't play with LeBron James. AI didn't play with Shaq. He was playing with some more scrubby players. I mean, he carried that team to the finals, which was pretty impressive. I'd say that's better than anything D Wade did. I think that's impressive. Like, you don't get a trophy out of that, but that was still pretty impressive what he was able to do. I mean, he won a season MVP. D Wade did not do that. He had more All-NBA first teams than him. He had 3. D Wade only had 2. AI was a scoring leader 4 times. D Wade only did that once. AI was also a steals leader. He had that 3 times. D Wade didn't do that once. AI had Rookie of the Year. D Wade didn't. That doesn't really matter, but I mean, that's a little there. I mean, AI had 26 points per game. D Wade only had 22. When you just look at the numbers, I think AI was the better player when it comes to skill and getting things done. But I think if he had the teammates, if he had a LeBron James on his team, if he had a Shaq on his team, I honestly think AI would have had 2-3 rings at least. I think AI was the type of player that you could have put him with a LeBron James or a Shaq. I think LeBron James may have not been the greatest fit, but you definitely could have fit him with a Shaq, a dominating Shaq. That would have been a very good duo in the NBA.
Here's the thing.
What are your thoughts?
Here's my whole thing. The fact that D Wade was able to play with other players and kind of step back into that second role, like he did with Miami, that number 2 role, that backup role, and still dominate as the number 1 guy. He did both in his career. I think that's what makes him the better player. AI probably, you team up AI with anybody else. And, honestly, let's be honest. I love AI. Obviously I got his jersey up there. One of my favorite players of all time, Sixers legend. He was a ball hawk. He did not like to share the ball. I mean, that's just,
He also didn't have the teammates that could do anything.
But you can
Him ball
still
hogging was better than what his teammates would do. It's kind of like with Kobe Bryant. Kobe Bryant was a ball hog. We all know that. But Kobe taking those shots was better than him passing them up and giving them to somebody else who wouldn't have the same percentage of making that shot. Kobe shooting that shot rather than passing it was better efficiency for the Lakers.
Honestly, I have to disagree. I still think AI could have shared the ball and still dominated like he did. And also, one thing that I want to say is, D Wade had more longevity. AI really, was at his peak. He really ended his career around like what do you want to say? 2000. Sorry, shit, my thing fell. But 2007, 2008, kind of went on the downslope. D Wade,
the thing with that was, look, AI was playing more minutes each night. AI was the number one guy. He had all the usage rate. He was the guy on that team. D Wade at times was able to take a step back and let LeBron do his thing.
He was
able
still
to feed the ball to a guy like
Shaq.
Shaq.
A huge impact, and you could still see his presence.
He did, but not nearly. He didn't have that like 60% usage rate, or he wasn't dominate. He didn't have that dominating effect. AI had that his whole career. He never had another star there. D Wade didn't. D Wade had a LeBron James for his good career there. Without that, I think D Wade would have ended his career much earlier because LeBron was able to take the impact of being D Wade wasn't the number one player on the team. AI was the number one player on his team the whole career. D Wade
was the number one player on his career in 06. It wasn't Shaq.
In 06? No, in 06. I'm saying his whole career he wasn't. He wasn't the number one player for the entire time. LeBron came and took over, and that helped D Wade be able to make his career longer. He didn't have that pressure constantly on him the whole time. I think his body would have wore down faster if LeBron never joined.
But even when he was playing with Bron and Chris Bosh, you could still feel that his presence wasn't there. They wouldn't do as well. They would still do well, but they wouldn't do as well when you have D Wade.
When you're the number one player compared to the second player, you are not giving it. Your body is not getting as many minutes. He wasn't playing as many minutes. LeBron played a little more minutes than him. He took a couple minutes away.
But he still had the longevity, and even when Bron left Miami, he would still lead Miami to the playoffs, and he would still do well with Miami.
He was okay. He wasn't dominating like he was
good.
For the first couple years, yes, but after that, once he went to Chicago, he was done. He didn't really do much. He was a sixth man at best by then. And I mean, AI, the same thing happened.
No.
But if LeBron never joined Miami, D Wade's career would have been shorter. D Wade would not have had his usage rate would have been much higher during that period.
I disagree.
D Wade his usage rate would have been higher if LeBron never joined. Therefore, his body would have taken more wear and tear, and it would not have been the same. It would have shortened.
Yeah, but I think he would have shortened his career by maybe 3 years, maybe. Because
3 years, that's still
around 2015, 16, obviously his knees started to, take a toll on him, but still, he still would have been around.
You do realize if he played 3 years less, AI would have played more time in the NBA than him. You do realize AI played 13 years in his career. D Wade played 15. I'm aware. So that would put 3 years less. That would put him at 12 compared to AI's 13. AI would have played more seasons than him.
But I still think, D Wade was a lot more versatile, as far as he had that mid range. AI, he did have some flaws. Obviously D Wade was a better passer. D Wade was a little bit more athletic. D Wade was a little bit more. D Wade had way better hops. D Wade was a better defender. D Wade was.
Is D Wade a better passer? Is that why he averaged a assist less than AI throughout his career?
We're talking about one assist here. Come on.
One assist every night for 13 years.
We're talking about one assist.
One assist every game for 13 years.
One assist.
That's a lot of assists over time. That's 80 assists.
I think you're just. I think you're blowing it out. You're blowing it out of proportion. You're absolutely blowing it out of proportion.
That's a lot of assists in his.
It's really not. It's really not. It's one assist.
When you average it out, it's different.
Yep. Even if you take the stats away.
I mean, D Wade is a very good player. I think he was able to have more success than AI. That's no question. But he clearly had the better teammates. there's no question he had better teammates than him.
Right. But I don't think that
So I
should
think that's helping. I
don't think
think
that
D
should
Wade.
impact his legacy.
I'm not saying it's his legacy. I'm saying Allen Iverson was straight up the better player than him, more talented. He was just better all around. He scored more. He was able to get it done. He just wasn't able to go far in the playoffs because he didn't have the teammates to help him out. Same reason why his career ended shorter.
AI is a better scorer. Overall,
undoubtedly, there's no question.
There's no question. But as far as players, I'm taking D Wade.
I'd say
he's just a better playmaker
too, and I'd say he was more intelligent on the defensive end when it came to steals because AI was a steals leader. He knew how to pick off passes on the defensive end, and he was able to guard you. His on-ball defense was good. It wasn't spectacular, but he was able to read the passing lanes too, which was huge for him, which is why he was a steals leader multiple times.
I'm saying fundamentally, you take all the numbers away, you take all the points and the stats. D Wade was just a better player. He was a better structured player. And I don't think there's any
player, yes. All-around player, yes. But AI was better at what he did. I mean, they're both good players. You can't go wrong with this. I mean, it's just your opinion. Do you view championships and having better teammates? Like, do you view that? No. Or do you view purely talent? Like, purely talent, AI was a better talent. But all-around game, D-Wade was better, and D-Wade had more championships.
When you rank...
So you are right. There's no wrong answer here. You're right in your opinion, but in my opinion, I view it differently.
But when like I rank shooting guards, you know, I'm taking Jordan 1, Kobe 2, D Wade 3, and then 4 I'd probably have AI, and then 5 maybe like Vince Carter. I don't know.
I would not have Vince Carter in my top 5.
I don't know if I'd have Vince Carter, but I'm just throwing somebody.
I mean, I wouldn't disagree with that list. That's your opinion. I think you're right for it, but I think pure talent, I think AI was better. And if AI had a dominating teammate like a LeBron or a Shaq, he would have had multiple rings. He would have had at least 2 rings.
Right, no but that's like saying, you know, if for example, let's say if Jimmy Butler was on that big 3 rather than D Wade, he would have rings. Like I'm just throwing something out there, but like
no, exactly. But that's why it helps him so much because he had the teammates. AI didn't, and it's an advantage he had. It's nothing against him, but it's almost a praise to AI because what he was able to do with no teammates.
No, I can see where you're coming from.
If he would have been able to take down the Lakers that year in 2001, that would have been pretty spectacular.
Well, he didn't have he didn't have a snowball's chance in hell in beating that Lakers team. And I'm saying that as a Sixers fan,
that would have been incredible.
If he did that single-handedly, he would be probably like third.
That alone I wouldn't even have to look at anything else. That would have put him right there. That would have put him D-Wade without even question. No
absolutely.
D-Wade.
Absolutely.
But there was no way he was doing that. So.
And it's even impressive that he went into the Staples Center in Game 1 and won a game on his own.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
So that's impressive. Agreed. Let us know what you think. Who do you think is better, D Wade or AI? Both were just incredibly fun to watch. Seriously, and like the league feels weird without D Wade in it.
Oh yeah.
I feel like D Wade had such a big impact on the league. And like the league just feels like different without him. It felt weird, like when he went to Chicago. Do you remember that? Like it just didn't feel right when he was a Bull. And then he had that time in Cleveland, and then the Heat were just like, all right, we need him back because this just is weird. It was weird. It was just
exactly. I agree.
That was a weird time for the NBA.
Mm-hmm. It certainly was.
Let us know what you think below. Next, we wanted to get into our start bench cut. We do this every episode. If you haven't checked out our other episodes, I would highly encourage you to go watch our other episodes. They're great. Check them out. Got a lot of good topics. Definitely. I beat Justin in a lot of debates, so you definitely go check that out.
Never.
Absolutely. So we wanted to get into start bench cut. We do this, like I said, we do this every episode. Take 3 players that are in today's league, see who we would start, who we would bench, who we would cut. Today we have Drew Holiday of the New Orleans Pelicans, Kyle Lowry of the Toronto Raptors, and Mike Conley of the Utah Jazz. I almost said Memphis Grizzlies because that feels weird. That feels weird. Him not being a Grizzly, like him not being in a Grizzlies uniform. I'm still not used to him. So Justin, who would you start, bench, and cut out of those 3?
I think it's obvious you're starting Drew Holiday. Drew Holiday is just the best player of the three. He's a very good defender, good scorer, good passer. He's versatile. He can guard 1 through 3. He can guard point guard, shooting guards. Even he can guard some of the small forwards in the league. So his all-around ability to do everything on the court is just amazing. He's a very good talent. I wish he was still on the Sixers, but
Terrible
yeah,
trade.
I really like him. I think he is a very good player. I think he's very underrated in today's game. I think he is
Agreed.
a very key part of that Pelicans team, especially if they do plan on making a run. He will be everyone will say Brandon Ingram, Zion Williamson, maybe even Alonzo Ball for the Zoe fans out there. But I think Drew Holiday is going to be the main guy if they do make a run because his experience will be huge. Same with JJ Redick on that team. I think those two will be big. A little off topic, but I think those two will actually be very underrated pieces to that Pelicans team. But back on topic, next would be Mike Conley. Kyle. I really struggle with this.
It's hard.
When you look at it, it's very hard. They're both the same player. They're both defensive-minded, pass-first point guards. They're not big scorers. They've hovered around 20 points per game. Never big 25 point per game scorers. Mostly around 19 to 22 points per game their whole careers. It's tough. I mean, you look at it right away, and the All-Star game difference pops out. Kyle Lowry 6, Mike Conley 0. But when you look, like, honestly, right there, that had me thinking Kyle Lowry's the better player. But you gotta remember, Mike Conley's in the West. Mike Conley's been going up against Damian Lillard, Steph Curry, all these other great point guards, Russell Westbrook, James
On a
Harden.
terrible Grizzlies team. Yeah.
There's no way he can get an All-Star game compared to the point guards in the East. Kyle Lowry is just so much better. Like, that just fits. I mean, I think when you go through Mike Conley, he doesn't have the ring, but Mike Conley has not had the teammates. He didn't have Kyle Lowry would not have won a ring if it weren't for Kawhi Leonard. And honestly, he probably wouldn't have won the ring if the Warriors stayed healthy. So that's another thing in there. I mean, Mike Conley does have the all defensive first team. Kyle Lowry is still a good defender, but I think Mike Conley has the edge on him on the defensive end. They're both like the same score. They both average 14.8, 14.7 points per game. Conley has them by 0.1 throughout their careers. Not a big thing there. I mean, it's really tough. I think they're both good players. They're both almost the same. I mean, I think Mike Conley has better playoff stats, but that's because he was more the number 1, number 2 guy in the playoffs, as where Lowry kind of took a step back to Leonard there. Kawhi was the main guy in the playoffs and Siakam. So it's tough. I'd give a slight edge to Mike Conley, but it's very tough. I like Mike Conley's game a little bit more. Kyle Lowry's a bit of a flopper, and I don't like floppers, so that kind of hurts me there.
You like James Harden?
That's just personal opinion.
You like James Harden?
That's just nothing. Yeah, well, you like LeBron James, so you have no room to talk. I don't know. This is real. It's really a tough one in my opinion, but I'd give a slight edge to Mike Conley. So
you're starting
Lowry.
Drew, benching Mike, and cutting Kyle.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Right. Yeah, I mean, for me personally, there's no question that I'm starting Drew Holiday. Just great 3-and-D player, underrated, definitely underrated. By the way, that Sixers trade was just atrocious. I get that it started the process or whatever, and everyone wants to praise Sam Hinkie. We traded him for Nerlens Noel. Like, come on, dude. Like, seriously. And then he ended up leaving, 3 years later?
Yeah.
Ridiculous. So if we still had him, things would change, and things would probably be a lot better.
Yeah, but we wouldn't have gotten Ben Simmons or Joel Embiid then.
Right.
Because we wouldn't have been we would have had a quality player on our team at the time, whereas we didn't have that quality player. So we were able to tank and get the number 1 pick and number 3 pick.
We had quality players. I mean, remember Spencer Hawes? Remember Tony Roden?
Get out of here.
KJ McDaniels?
There's a reason why they're not in the NBA anymore.
Ish Smith. Who else was there? Henry Sims, Byron Mullins, Hollis Thompson,
Furkan Aldemir.
Carl Landry. Remember Carl Landry? Carl Landry was tough, dude.
There were a lot of different guys we've had over time. So.
Carl Landry was a tough player, man.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, getting back on track. I'm going to start Drew. I'm going to bench Kyle Lowry. You know, I think he's a much better leader. I think he's a much better leader for that Raptors team, you know, taking that role of being, leading the offense with the Raptors, you know, once Kawhi left. I think he's really jumped into that role pretty well. I got to give it to Kyle Lowry. I have a lot of respect for what he
Really?
does. Yeah.
I wouldn't say that's my reason. I think Siakam, Marcus, they have a lot of different leaders on the team. I wouldn't give Kyle Lowry
Yeah,
the
but I
first
would
bench
give it to
there.
Kyle Lowry. You
And
know,
they're
he's got
only
he's but
sec
he's good, but
they're
he's got
only
the vet.
second in the they're only second in the East because they're not in the West. Like if they were in the West, I don't even think they'd be a playoff team, honestly.
I disagree with that. I think that's
I
blasphemous.
think they'd be borderline. I think they'd be fifth, sixth seed, not second seed. They wouldn't be
Oh, so
nearly as
so
good.
they still be a playoff team.
Yeah,
Borderline.
they'd be borderline playoff team. Bottom half. I mean, think about it. The fifth seed isn't that far off from
You
the
know,
eighth seed
that's like
in the
coulda,
West.
shoulda, woulda. You know, they were in the West, blah blah blah.
Well, no, I'm just
Come on.
saying. I don't think all the leadership necessarily goes on him. I think there's other guys there too. I think you gotta look at Pascal Siakam the way he's grown. You gotta look at a guy like Marcus Gasol. Fred VanVleet runs that offense as well. They got a lot of different guys there, and they also have a fantastic coach, one of the best in basketball. So I agree with that. But how is that better than what Mike Conley was able to do with Memphis? Man, he had a worse team around him, and he was still able to lead them. I think he was the true leader on that team, whereas I don't know necessarily Lowry would be a true leader.
I would say Marcus Gasol was the true leader, but that's a whole other discussion.
Yeah, it's a different discussion.
That's a whole other discussion. But I think Kyle Lowry really steps into that veteran presence, and he, is a great playmaker, leads this Raptors team. So I got to give it to Kyle Lowry. I'm benching, and that's not a knock to Mike Conley. Like Justin said, I agree with you. This was a very tough decision, but I'm gonna have to give it to. I'm gonna have to cut Mike Conley. Just because of his presence on the Jazz. I don't think that he's probably the third guy on the Jazz, maybe even fourth. If you're adding in like Joe Ingles, for example.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I'm gonna start Giroux, bench Kyle, cut Mike.
Interesting. I don't think you can go wrong with either order here.
You can't.
Both
I mean,
good.
it's tough. I
Both
think
good players. They're pretty much the same player.
Right. I think Mike Conley is underrated, in my opinion.
Mike Conley doesn't get the media attention that Kyle Lowry does.
No, because he's not a flashy player.
Because Kyle Lowry's been winning too. Kyle Lowry's had the spotlight on him because he just won the championship. Whereas Mike Conley doesn't have the ring, so it's like, I don't know, it's tough. But then again, people say the ring is the asterisk, but I mean, I don't. Other people do because the Warriors lost all those players. It's a tough situation. I think
it's all like what if, man. Like and I'm tired. I feel like the NBA in general has the most what ifs. Like, oh, well, if LeBron was in the West, he wouldn't have won that much. Or like you said, if Mike Conley was in the East,
blah blah
blah. Like, just stop. History is history. What happened happened. Stop making excuses. You're just salty. Well, if KD and Curry didn't go down, or KD and Clay didn't go down, the Warriors were. Who cares? Like, just who cares?
Agreed.
Like, honestly, like it's ridiculous to debate about. So again, let us know what you think. Who would you start? Who would you bench? Who would you cut? All three great players. Let us know what you think on Twitter, on Instagram. Follow us on Instagram at @heed_up_pod. We'll put the link in the description. But yeah, lastly, we wanted to get into. We actually missed this, and we do apologize. We missed a list. We were going to do top 5 power forwards last episode, but we just forgot. We're not going to BS you for why we didn't do it. We just forgot, and we apologize. We're human. We make mistakes. All right, we're sorry. Very sorry. Justin, if you could apologize to the people.
Sorry.
Thank you. All right. But yeah, we're going to do top 5 power forwards. You know what? I think I'll go first this time.
Go ahead.
Thank you. So at number 5.
Ladies first.
Oh, you're funny. You're fine. That's offensive.
I'm kidding.
Okay. We're gonna get canceled. Come on. Anyway, at number 5, I got to give it to Domantas Sabonis. Averaging 18.5 points a game, 12.4 rebounds, 5 assists, shooting 54% from the field. That's pretty solid, man. I got to give it to Domantas there. And the way that he's just arose from, in this game, he's doing tremendous, and I can't wait to see more of his career. At number 4, I'm going to go with Kristaps Porzingis, averaging 19.2 points a game, 9.5 rebounds a game, 1.7 assists per game, about 1 steal per game, which is just impressive. His offense is great. His defense is great. He's tall. He's lengthy. I got to give it to him. At number 3, I got to give it to Pascal Siakam. Obviously stepping up to that role with when Kawhi left. Averaging about 24 points a game, 7.5 rebounds, 3.6 assists, shooting 46 from the field, which is pretty impressive. So I got to give it to Siakam. At number 2, I'm going to go with AD. What hasn't been said about him: 26.7 points, 9.4 rebounds, 3.1 assists, 2.4 blocks, which is very impressive. And he's got the 3rd highest PR in the league. Not just out of power forwards, but I mean in the league in general. So I got to give it to Anthony Davis. And then at number 1, I'm giving it to Giannis. My pick for MVP this year. I think he's doing absolutely tremendous this year, leading this Bucks team on pace to win 70 games.
But you don't think LeBron's the MVP?
I would give it to Giannis, but man, like 30 points a game, almost 14 rebounds, 6 assists. Like I said, the Bucks were on pace to win 70 games. He's got the highest PR in the league, 31.6. That is just outstanding, absolutely outstanding. So I got to give it to Giannis. So that's my list. If you love it, great.
Well, MVP thing's a different debate, but yeah.
Which we already did, which you can go check out that episode. I feel like that was our first episode, actually.
Yeah, I think it was.
Episode 1. So go check that out if you haven't already. So what's your list, Justin?
Okay, well, my first 2 are the same. I have Giannis at 1 and AD at 2. I mean, I think if you ask 95% of the NBA who their top 5 power forwards are, they're going to give you that answer. I mean, unless you're asking a Lakers fan, I think who they may try and say AD is better, but outside of that, I don't. I mean, next I'd have Sabonis. You have him at 5, but I think he's at 3. I think he's very underrated. He's averaging the most rebounds out of the next 3. Because by the way, I have the same players as you, but he's averaging the most rebounds out of them, more assists than both of them. He's the most efficient out of the 3, and he's only averaging half a point less than Porzingis. He's averaging a couple less than Siakam, but Siakam takes a lot more shots than he does. So I have to give it to Sabonis. I think his efficiency, his rebounding, and the fact that he can pass. I mean, he doesn't get the praise like Jokic does, but he has the ability to pass like Jokic. So I really like him. I think he was very underrated, never talked about. I think he is the number 3 power forward. Number 4, I would give to Siakam. I think Siakam is putting up 23 points, 7 rebounds, 3.5 assists. He's putting up the numbers. He's respectable all around. He has the most points out of these guys, out of everyone outside of AD and Giannis. I really like his game. I think he's developed it nicely off of taking over the leadership role from Kawhi. I think he's a very good player. Good system for him. He plays really well in it. I really like him. I think he is the 4th best. And then 5th, I have Kristaps, 19 points. He can shoot the 3 ball, 42% from the field together. 9.5 rebounds, not as many assists as the other guys, only 1.5. But he has the 2 blocks, which is pretty impressive. He's a very good defender. So, yeah, I really like those 5 players. I think when you ask most people, those are the 5 you get. I think you may give it like a Julius Randle, or that may be even a stretch. Maybe I'm trying to think. Aaron Gordon, you could maybe make a case. I don't know.
Yeah, you definitely could make a case for Aaron Gordon. When you ask people, those are the top 5. I don't know. I'm just trying to come up with power forwards that I didn't name. It's a weak position, and it's always been a weak position in the history of the league. It's always been a weak position. That's just
it's tough. It's tough because between centers and power forwards, a lot of them can play both. Like an Anthony Davis can play both. Kristaps can play both. A guy we didn't list here, Bam Adebayo, he can play both. He plays center and power forward. So we classify him as a center because it's his first position, but his second position is power forward. He does play some power forward. So it's one of those positions, and you get small forwards too, like a LeBron James, Kawhi. They can always step into power forward as well at times. Basketball has become so positionless that a lot of the guys that play the 4 also play other positions. There's no real set number of 4s anymore. A lot of those number 4s either were centers that were undersized, or they were big, small forwards that have kind of developed. I feel like it's tough. There's not a lot of 4s in today, like true number 4s in today's basketball.
Yeah, I think the last true number 4 was probably KG.
Yeah, I would say something like that.
Maybe Tim.
That sounds about right.
Timmy. Other than that, it's like I said, throughout the history of the league, it's been a weak position.
Mm-hmm.
So, but DeMontis at 3, I don't see. He hasn't been good for a long enough time for me to have him at number 3. So for me, I can't have him at number 3. Top 5 definitely, but top 3, I don't think so. I don't think he should be up there with AD and
Last year
Giannis.
he was credible last year. He had 15 points, 59%
Right.
from the field,
But he's only been
52% from 3, 9 rebounds. He actually played just as well as Siakam did last year. Just
right,
as well.
right,
Siakam had 16
but he
last
hasn't
year.
had but he hasn't had
was
the
just
long
there, out rebound him, out assist.
but he
He's
hasn't had the
been there. He's
longevity
a
as AD and
developing
Giannis.
all-star. Yeah, that's why they're ahead of him. But outside of that, I don't think there's a set in stone number 3. I think you could make a case for Sabonis. You can even make a case for Kristaps if you wanted to, probably. I mean, he's been hurt, so I think give him another year coming off this injury, and I think he will probably end up being the number 3. I think it's a tough race. I think these 5 are for sure there. I mean, a guy we didn't name is Zion. I think Zion.
I wouldn't put him at top 5 yet.
But no, he's not top 5 yet. But he's
Yeah.
a guy that will be an up and coming guy that will be top. I guarantee you will probably be top 5.
Oh, absolutely.
He will probably end up being top 5. So I think these 5 and Zion. You got some young guys. You got Marvin Bagley. I'm trying to think who else is there. Jaren Jackson. He's another 4. I think those 2 with Zion and the 5 we listed are kind of the main 8 power forwards in the league for the next couple of years.
Definitely. Again, let us know what you think. Who's your top 5? Let us know in the comments. Yeah, that's going to wrap up this episode. Thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure to support the show on Patreon. We'll put the link in the description for that. Make sure to follow us on Instagram and Twitter. Put the link in the description for that as well. Thank you guys so much for watching, and have a good one. Peace.